Dear oh dear, sometimes real life just catches up with you. I wonder if anybody will actually pop into chat straight away. That will be the true fans. Sorry about the gurgling noises. The stream was late today because as I'm moving out of the flat here, the house I should say, we had people come around and look at the place, and unfortunately that fell right onto when I was going to be streaming at my usual time. So sorry I'm late, everyone. Hey Moondragon, Moondog, Amanda, Devon, Fargrim, Death by Touch, hello, hello, hello. Nice to see everyone. Hey Fiona. How's everybody doing? Have you had good games over the last couple of days? Time for the stream. It's true. The stream is titled Cat Squad, mainly because I found a... Oh no! Sorry. Mainly because, yeah, it's good that it's actually a slightly later stream because people get to see it that would normally be like late to my stream. I've noticed there's a few people that generally miss it. A question. Yep, that's why I'm here, Danny. Hey, I have a question. I want to get into Dungeons & Dragons 5e, but I don't have the money. What would be the 2 essential books that you would recommend? First of all, I would say... Hey, Bryce. Christopher. Kairos, hi. First of all, I would say that you don't actually need to spend any money on the hobby whatsoever. Most of the rules and things that you need are... if you look at the Roll20 compendium, most of the rules and stuff for the game are available for you there. There's also the free rules which are available from the Wizards of the Coast website, which is the core rules of the game essentially, and you can almost make up everything else after that. Also, if you go on to like Discord servers and things like that and talk with people who have been playing the game for a while, they can probably point you in the direction of resources that you don't need to spend a lot, if any, money on at all. Yeah, so, but the core books are the Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual. Those are the core books. The Dungeon Master's Guide, you can actually play without the Dungeon Master's Guide. Most of the information that you would get from that are mostly optional rules and things like that. There are occasional bits and pieces. Hey, thanks, Bryce. Bryce is just reminding me to remind you that this is a monetized channel. Super chats are available. It's a very good way to get my attention and to help support me. Thank you very much. Hey Adam, so yeah, that would be my suggestion. Yes, a Cat Squad, Commissar Chaplain Rad. My main villain has a squad of werepanthers at his disposal because sometimes NPCs really need punished. NPCs or PCs? Because that sounds like a great way to punish some player characters. So I hope that answers your question. And yes, Bryce, it is a monetized stream. Thank you very much. I've got my first payment from the Spreadshirt. I think it's Spreadshirt, the people who do my merchandise and stuff. Based on the commission that they pay for that and the rigmarole involved and how kind of not that great their website is to deal with. I'm waiting for the agency that I work with, Talency, to come up with a merchandise option which is wholly owned by them and run by them, which is much more fair and equitable. So once that happens, essentially you can see the link to a site at the moment. I'm not sure if that link is actually working properly, but they're just sorting that out now. So new merchandise and stuff will be upcoming later on. I'll let you know how it goes when it happens. Anyone else taking a computer science class? Hey, Zonoff, I hope you weren't offended by me sort of calling you out for getting my last live stream demonetized, but it was definitely you. In case you missed the comment section on the last video, the last live stream. Certain subjects involving sexual proclivities towards things that are undead are not good for live streams, let's say. So please don't use that particular term because it will get the video demonetized temporarily. It's probably just hit the thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up is fine. I am pumped to be a cat this weekend. In fact, yeah, that's okay, Zonoff. Don't worry about it. Zonoff for prison. I would say that Tabaxi is one of my favourite player character races, actually. It's quickly turning into my go-to character to play, honestly. Also, want to make a Dungeons and Dragons free-to-play video game, but I can't find out what copyright laws are from Wizards of the Coast and how they would react to Google search was of news. They do have they've got a specific policy, the open game license and stuff like that, which you can find on their website. And at the back of most books that are third-party published on like the DM's Guild and stuff, they've got one of the requirements is you post those copyright laws in there. It's like usually a page or so of densely packed script. It's actually one of the easier to understand copyright policies that there are out there. In regards to making a free-to-play video game, I would probably get in contact with them before I even started working on that, because it would be bad to get most of the way through developing it and then run into problems. So yeah, and they will respond to you. No, Commissar, I don't think you do. You're really amended, that's great. Coming at you from all directions. A Dragonborn murder hobo, well, we'll see. I'm good, thanks, Nikolai. How are you? I wanted to raise a topic that's something. It's some because I'm an admin on a number of D&D groups on Facebook. These are all this like most of the Sages groups, apart from these the Sages bunch of groups. So Sages of Eberron, Sages of Toril, that sort of thing. My personal policy is if somebody criticizes you and uses bad words and things like that, as long as the words are not directly like character assassination or making aspersions about your character, that's generally fine. I believe in free speech, and I think also people need to have a slightly thicker skin, particularly if somebody is coming at you with a critique, even if it's a particularly rough critique. I can certainly take a rough critique. I have on a daily basis on my YouTube channel. Particularly with my old videos with the real bad sound quality and stuff like that. It was critiques that helped me improve my channel. If I don't know, turn to an admin of whatever group and ask for them to bully somebody on my behalf every single time somebody leveled some rough words at me, I would never improve. And I would be a weaker person for it. So my general policy is admins on Facebook groups in particular, they are there to stop the group from being spammed with hate speech, porn, that sort of thing. You know, stuff that's against Facebook's general policies. Not to police personal disputes between people. So that's all I'm going to say on it. Yeah, tabaxis are awesome, man. There's no crying in D&D. You can certainly cry all you want. I mean, but don't get admins involved in personal disputes with people. Just block and carry on. Honestly, it's that easy. And leaving a group because some person like critiques something that you posted, bye, you know. Yeah, well, it took a long road, Toon, and I'm only just getting started. Honestly, I've got so much more stuff to do. Unfortunately, this is the week that everything gets kind of disrupted for me because I'm heading into moving house in like 9 days. So yeah, I'll try and keep the output going. But please excuse me if there's only 1 or 2 videos this week. Oh really? Star Wars 5e conversion. That's interesting. Fully in favour of that. Bit late in Denmark. Well, hopefully I can put you to sleep. Watch some of my older videos with the bad sound quality. Sorry for all the questions. That's fine. That's why I'm here. One's important and probably won't fit in any one comment. A year ago, I talked my friend into playing Dungeons and Dragons with me. I was the GM. He was. Rest of comment. Don't. What? Yeah, I'm moving house. Well, I'm moving to the family orchard to look after things there because my parents are in their like mid-70s now, so they are having difficulty maintaining the day-to-day physical aspects of looking after the orchard. So I am there to both look after the house in case they need to go traveling around the country and see the sights and things and just relax and enjoy their old age, and also look after the orchard and the animals there and things like that. You know, shovel compost and do that sort of stuff. So that's one of the main reasons actually why I'm working on this as a career, to support myself so that I can be there and do that. Otherwise, if I had to have a job, and it would be much harder to look after the orchard at the same time. So being a good son, you know, going and looking after the parentals. Moving to a dungeon, actually, it's pretty nice at the orchard, I have to admit. It's really nice. This house has been very nice, but it's way too expensive for me to keep by myself. Oh, I see. Okay. To finish, he was the player, but I had no idea of the rules, and he wanted to attack a Shadow Drake. Needless to say, everything failed miserably. Now he won't touch the game. I can't even talk about it, or he'll hang up the phone. Them's the breaks. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I have a group of people who won't touch Star Wars Edge of the Republic or Age of Rebellion with a 10-foot barge pole because of a bad experience with one particular player at the table, and it soured them to the entire system. Sometimes that just happens, and yeah, I'm afraid to say that they probably won't want to play D&D again. Maybe get them interested in playing like Magic the Gathering or something like that, something where it's a bit easier to arbitrate the rules and things. Am I going to do the Coatls? Yes, I am. It's on my list of things to do. Also, I just wanted to shout out to everybody and talk about that running the game, how to run encounters video. So that was one of the patron videos. So that's the one that they got to see way in advance of everybody else. I think it was like almost 20 days that they got to see that in advance of everybody else. So that is the sort of content where I test out the waters to see what people think of that sort of video. So far it's doing okay. It's nowhere near the views of like the Sorcerer player character class video and things like that. So if you want to see more videos like that, share and get other people interested in, because I'm basically, I will respond to how many views it has, and if it doesn't do well, like if it doesn't have like, I don't know, 4,000 views or something by a few days from now, then that kind of discourages me from making more videos like that. It's fine, Danny. Oh, okay. Danny, I would suggest try out 4th edition. If he wants a more gamey D&D game, then 4th edition is probably right up his alley. Do not listen to other people naysaying 4th edition. That's exactly what that sort of game is good for. People who are used to video games really slide easily into 4th edition. It's a much easier game for them to pick up and conceptualize and work with. It's also very easy to pick up as a brand new DM, because everything is so well managed and arbitrated for you. Tabax taxes. Tabax taxes. Oops, I missed that comment. AJ, or get the players into Munchkin maybe. It's a bit like D&B but simpler and with a more comedic twist. Munchkin? That's like a card game. A board game? Card game. Do you have any more homebrew monsters to show us? I sure do. I was just talking about one of those on Discord the other day. We were sort of spitballing ideas behind it. Furball! Fireball. Yeah, swearing is fine. It's strictly that subject matter. Like that is a keyword, obviously, that is not suitable for public discussion. Zone off. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Michael. Furball, the most powerful spell. What's your favourite use of dwarves in your campaigns? Usually it's dwarves, like, dwarves are very industrious and they're matter of fact and they like getting things done. If they can't do things themselves, then they will outsource adventurers to do things for them sometimes. Like, they don't necessarily want to waste their time going into an unprofitable mine if it's infested with monsters and things like that. But they know that adventurers and stuff like going in there and doing that sort of thing, so they'll send them in there to do it for them. They also they pay for information about things which have been lost and stuff, like occasionally dwarven artifacts and things like that. Like if you found the axe of the dwarven lords, for instance, you would be extremely wealthy because the dwarves would pay you extremely handsomely for it. Particularly if you're amenable to selling it. If you wanted to keep it, then they would kill you. Pretty simple. So dwarves are very insular, and I like role-playing their society and stuff like that. Because of that, the players at my game like playing dwarves as well. In fact, in the last campaign that just ended this Tuesday, we had two dwarven player characters. One was a hill dwarf and one was a mountain dwarf. And they were very different from each other, and they gave each other shit the entire time. It was really great. There was a lot of animosity and competition between them both. I'm more in favour of the 5th edition Artificer, really. Looking at the entire game system as a whole, okay, not just like cookie cuttering that out, just the Artificer class. You got to look at all the feats and stuff which go into that as well in 3rd edition and 3.5. That's always a tricky question. It's kind of walking into a minefield, because if you're really keen on the 3.5 edition version of an Artificer, then you're asking me, what do I think of this terrible new edition? But I actually prefer the 5th edition version because I like the 5th edition system better. But bear in mind, I liked all of the editions. I've played every single one of them. They're all fine. I like the improvements that have been made to 5th, but I think they lost a couple of things in 4th edition as well. Good. I'm glad. Meme Lord. Second time I managed to drag him to Dungeons & Dragons games with him playing a Dragonborn Archer. The dungeon I made would rip them apart, so made of the rest of my comment doesn't fit. Okay, I made a basic warrior and try and kill it. When I managed to drag him towards the dungeon, he managed to win it. He was fighting on dead and using his racial breath of ability. We count the custom week. Danny, are you like texting those things because your sentence structure is hard to read? Custom week giant, but when we stopped playing he refused to touch it again, almost as hard as this was roll 20. This was with roll 20, so now you said for physician might work. I think he made a freaking weapon out of it and beat me with it. Okay. Can anybody else interpret that? So you were playing on roll 20, so he's not actually sitting down in a group and playing a game with you. Jason, yes, I would, and I have actually done that. I did a conversion for 4th edition for Warhammer 40k. I think 5th edition really brought the disparity between the classes closer together. Well, 4th edition also did that. In my campaign, dwarves have recently discovered how to make black powder, gunpowder, and it was a well-guarded secret among dwarves and gnomes. Gnomes stole the secret. Oh, I see. cleric of knowledge named Fargrim, based off of the name Fargrim. He became king of the dwarves and leader of the stonemasons guild that output stone golems. They produced stone golems. That's nice. The reason I ask, have you read the Brandon Sanderson series of Stormlight Archive? If so, what do you think of this Shard Blades plate? I haven't read that, so I don't know. Sorry, November Mind. The reason I ask because my group play 3rd edition 3.5 set in the Mystara setting for TSR. Our GM is keen on bullets, guns, and the likes. Wondering if 3rd edition Artificer could work in Mystara. Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I've got nothing against using firearms in D&D. Absolutely. And laser guns and particle beam weapons. They've always been a part of D&D. Expedition to the Barrier Peaks had laser weapons and stuff. It was a crashed spaceship. So D&D has always been sci-fi, as far as I'm concerned. Planescape, Spelljammer, all that sort of stuff, that's sci-fi stuff. That's even beyond high fantasy. So you could say D&D easily crosses the boundary from high fantasy into ultra fantasy sci-fi at the drop of a hat. And anybody who thinks that any inclusion of something ruins the game, that's their problem, not D&D. D&D has always done that. So yes, if you want to throw Warhammer 40k Space Marines into your 5th edition game, absolutely. If you want if you want a cyborg dragon from the Rifts universe to pop into D&D, fine. It's your game. Play it how you want. If you're producing products for somebody else, then they're free to like it or not. It's a very Yeah, it really doesn't work very well, Danny. I didn't understand I have barely understood what you were talking about. I was saying I imagine he could cake it and roll it up like a newspaper and beat me with it. Oh, yeah. Should charisma plus level be construed as celebrity, either fame or infamy? Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. A gun monk. Why not? Equilibrium, that movie Equilibrium with what's his name? The guy who played Batman, Christian Bale. That was pretty good. That was a gun monk. Fargrim Frostbeard, King of the Bardic Kingdom. Maybe. Are all alternate settings planets all in the same material plane as Toril? So basically the question is, are all crystal spheres all in the same material plane? Yeah, the great material plane. So the idea behind Planescape, behind Spelljammer, is that wild space is inside the crystal spheres. The crystal spheres are floating in a sea of phlogiston. So think of it as kind of like the ethereal plane, and all of these crystal spheres are realms within it. So it's all one big universe, but it's not a galaxy or anything like that. You don't fly from one star to another. You go from crystal sphere through the phlogiston and to crystal sphere. So the phlogiston is basically like hyperspace. I will do so, November Wine. Thank you. The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Gun Fu, yeah. I'm just going to pop out the chat because I missed a comment there. Good ally for bullywugs would be lizard folk, and also grungs or grugs, although they're frog-like things. Mostly it would be other amphibians. They don't have a lot of time for non-amphibians. Also were-rats. Hey Will, yeah, it's a later stream today, Will. Is it possible to have a character that multiclasses in everything within the rules? Yeah, it's just kind of a pointless character. Also, if it's within the rules, but not really within the logic of the game world. So I personally like I like making characters that have a story, and the story determines what their build is. Kind of like I like making the monster and then designing the dungeon around it. It's not set on having guns. The GM is not on having guns, bullets and the likes. Since Blackmore is long gone, he prefers to have it stay more grounded in traditional D&D. See, that's it. It's not traditional D&D. Not having guns is not traditional D&D. D&D has always had guns. So that's a false assumption on his part. But if that's what his enjoyment is, then you basically have to compromise. Like say, look, well, you determine what the possibility of firearms is, and then I will work within that as a character. Just say, look, you know, can my character have a wand of magic missiles? And you'll be like, yeah. We'll say, well, how's that worse? How is that better than having a gun? Guns are a lot harder to deal with than a wand of magic missiles. So you recently started playing a Halfling Ranger, Beastmaster. I was wondering if you could give me some idea on how to play that in a desert setting, because Rangers are usually forest related. That's a good question. So deserts are full of life, animal life. You just don't see them often. So you could, you know, there's camels. There's look up Wikipedia and look up animals that are found in deserts, and you'll find all sorts of stuff. There's desert foxes, desert cats. There's jerboa. There's snakes, insects, things like that. There's probably dire insects, giant insects. There's also undead ghosts, things wandering around the wilderness. There's all sorts of specific, like desiccated corpse, undead type creatures, vampires, dragons. There's all sorts of stuff in deserts. The lack of trees doesn't really make it a big issue. So tracking things through a desert is also difficult because the wind blows tracks away and things like that. So being able to find where things would go and navigate your way to water sources and getting resources and things like that. Having the skills of survival the ranger have is even more important for a player character party, because they know, like, no, we can't travel at this time of day because we'll be losing too much water. You know, that sort of thing. We need to travel at night, travel during the day, sleep during the day. You need to wrap up and protect yourself from sand and things like that. So yeah. Oh, good, Mr. L. It's a good question, November Mind. What if we had crystal spheres inside crystal sphere and so, where does everything taste like copper? Oh, the frog myth is great. Yeah. Absurd. Yeah, you're talking. I knew you were talking about that. That particular that video by Puffin Forest and his character Absurd, which was across class, every class. Yeah, the Triad had a particular fascination with using two pistols because of there's a folktale, a modern folktale about the Triad where they were trying out. They essentially had a competition between assassins. They put them all into a building, and the last one standing was going to instruct all of the Triad gang members on how to fight, essentially, and he was using two pistols. I think that's the story. That's the legend. Same thing with the samurai and the longsword and the short sword combo. That was thanks to Miyamoto. What was his name? Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi. He was one of the most famous swordsmen in Japan. Yeah, Gary Gygax begs to differ about guns not being part of Dungeons and Dragons. How do you become a god? Well, first you start a YouTube channel. Even lesser guns go back to the roots of Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, November Mine, that's a good question. If you send your players into a magical door that teleports them into the real-life World War One, what do you think they could bring back? They could bring back anything. Of course, they're going to have limited functionality uses in the world that they go into. First of all, World War One wasn't that technologically advanced, really. They had guns and things like that, but guns run out of bullets, and manufacturing bullets is actually highly precise. If you're just working with an anvil and a hammer and a forge and things like that, first of all, you need an intact bullet, and you need to take it apart. You need to, like, how do they don't have chemical analysis and things like that, so it's both very difficult to find the people that would even understand how to make black powder. So you would need to get the instructions on how to make it all yourself. Other things that would be more interesting is medical advances and things like that. Things like a compass. Radios, of course, would be useless. Batteries would be fairly useless. Because most things in the D&D world, they just take care of with magic quite easily. Who is messaging me? Hang on a second. Sorry. Oh, I see. Problems on Facebook. Yeah, Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi, yeah. Mystic China. I love Mystic China. This violent implication. Yeah, you can still make magical items in 5th edition. Facebook's definitely going crazy. Wow. Okay. Somebody's telling me to go and watch The Quartering. YouTube hit pieces. Okay. Not interested. Ah, yeah. 2 longswords. Would Tabaxi be good use for an optimized speed-based character? Yeah, absolutely. They've specifically got hi Mike. They've specifically got that Tabaxi speed option, which makes them sort of dash at 3 times normal speed, and you can quickly enhance that with feats and things like that. Yeah. Hey Terry, nice to see you. Can Tiamat die? No. Tiamat can be taken out of action for a while, but Tiamat will always kind of crawl back, generally speaking. Let's put it this way, Tiamat can die in your campaign, sure. But, yeah. Trenchfoot, absolutely. Bring back Ricketts. High purity distilled alcohol vodka has been turning roofs into spaceships ever since we discovered distillation. Yeah, true. Yeah. It's like Bahamut, for instance. He can't really die. He's basically been ordained to live as a god. Yeah, can we not talk about going to Walmart and getting drugs? Like even the word pseudoephedrine will probably be flagged by YouTube. So have a care, people. We're here to talk about D&D. What's your favourite D&D god? That's a good question. I think. Like, I've always found like Lathander, like the sun gods and stuff, a little bit bland. I like interesting gods like Denier or like Thoth, you know, as a transposed real world god into the D&D setting. I like gods of knowledge in general. Like Baal is an interesting god because he can be both perceived as bad and good at the same time, depending on what he's doing. And yeah, some of the gods of civilization are kind of interesting as well. I don't know. Like if I was a cleric in D&D, like in the D&D world, I would be one of the more polytheistic ones. I think I wouldn't be up there with, well, yeah, Vecna. Okay, Vecna's pretty cool, but bad. So yeah, Bahamut would probably be a pretty good option for me to worship a god in D&D, even though he's a dragon technically. Because yeah, I'm more of a lawful good type person, so it would fit. Have a very young wood elf at the age of 60 who joined a village and has stayed there for 20 years. He is one of my player PCs. Okay. He wants to play a magic gunslinger. How about, should I help him do this? Yeah, so there's a various, like, give him a wand and let him fire the wand from the hip. Why not? One of the famous D&D characters, actually, from a long time ago, was a 6-shooter slinging gunslinger, essentially. Will you continue my video? Continue my video on Mind Flayers? What else do I have to cover, Matt? What else would you like to know about Mind Flayers? Probably James. I don't know. I get a lot of flack for making videos about gods and stuff like that. Like it's particularly in today's climate, it's a little bit dodgy making videos about gods and things. Unfortunately, like you may notice if you ever go to my Ecology of Gods video and go down to the comment section there and have a read and see that I'm not responding to any of it. Like I opened up the comment section just to show people exactly what goes on when you make videos about gods and that sort of thing, and what the reaction of some people is. And it's unreasonable, to say the least. Somebody even called me a coward on there because I had a disclaimer at the start of it saying that this is just a game. It's like, how's that cowardly? So yeah, I don't really want to respond to it. Yeah, Bryce. Thanks for that. Oh, really? Well, I mean, having a quest for a... Well, he wouldn't, as a sorcerer, he wouldn't be able to do the thing that Karsus did because that was a magical incantation. That was a high-powered ritual, and sorcerers are not, generally speaking, ritual casters. They're instinctual casters. They don't cast from spells or spell books. But acquiring like an artifact or something like that can steal godlike power is certainly an option. Yeah, that would be a very interesting quest for a campaign. You're using Cyric to facilitate some messing with one of the players who wants more than he can actually get, sort of giving him what he wants eventually. Yeah, somebody said that the trick with good DMing is giving your players what they want, but making it really difficult to get there. That's the entire crux of the story, really. So you're trying to satisfy the conditions of their background story for the character, whilst also frustrating them in their quest for personal development and stuff. Follow up on Mind Flayers and Despater. Well, I haven't done a video on Despater yet. He's on my list of things to do. Would you accept your warranty from Volo's Guide into your game? Absolutely. Yep. If it's a playable character in any of the books, then it's perfectly fine at my game table. Usually I have conditions against playing chaotic evil characters and things like that, because I don't like the disruptive element of PvP type games, and I don't generally like the murder hobo type characters that you've written any sort of ties or attachments out of their background story. So I will sit down with the player and I will tie their character into the story, and I will give them motivations and things that their character, like, there is a reason why they have some personal problems and some issues, some social issues with their character. So as long as there's a reason for it, so a trauma or something shady from their past, something like that, then it's okay. But they need to have a background. They need to have something that I can work with, as well as something that they enjoy working with as a player. What's my favourite obscure creature in D&D? That would be the Deep Spawn. Yeah. So if you treat gun bullets like magically enchanted bullets from a sling, then that works. You're chaotic neutral. We Jazz, ultimately fair, patient, she welcomes everyone. Sure. Hey AJ, hey Cole. Been watching your vids, but for a bit, really enjoyed them and looking forward to getting the hobby. Not sure how to start, how about it. So I would start with get the free rules from the Wizard of the Coast website, and get involved in a Roll20 game or a Facebook group where they have games and people hooking up with games and stuff. So it'll either be local or otherwise. Try and get into a personal game, like in your local area if you can. That's really the best way to enjoy the game, and that's how you'll get lifelong friendships. Otherwise, use online mediums to chat and have games over Roll20, Discord servers, Skype, Fantasy Grounds, yeah, that sort of thing. Illuminati. Curved handled wands with the command words pow and daka. Yeah, that's the one. Well, yeah, as I've mentioned before, one of the key aspects of being a deity in D&D is you're multi-dimensional. So they exist in multiple planes at the same time. So killing them is difficult because you'll, as a mortal being that exists in one dimension, like one plane at a time, the difficulty is, how do you kill a god simultaneously across multiple planes of existence? It requires an extraordinary level of coordination, and the deity is aware of what you're doing every single time you mention that deity's name. They are looking directly at you, because even a mention of their name will give them access to seeing what is going on. So it's very hard to sneak up on them, and it's very hard to actually kill them. So think of them as each plane of existence is like their Horcrux from Harry Potter. So you need to kill every single version of every aspect of them in every different dimension that every plane of existence that they currently occupy, including their home in the upper planes or lower planes that they reside in. And gods, of course, are very good at partitioning off and hiding aspects of themselves, much like a lich hides a phylactery. So imagine that gods use planes of existence as phylacteries. Now you have some idea of why gods fight gods, mortals don't fight gods. You can fight an aspect of a god, for sure, but it's nowhere near the true power of the entire entity that is that god. They can't even fit in one plane of existence at once. Yes, I do like WebDM. I don't watch as much WebDM as I probably should. They got the best thumbnails, absolutely. Shout out to WebDM, you guys are awesome. Yeah, so Fargrim, I would say that it's perfectly fine to play a chaotic evil character if you have played anything other than, like, if you've mainly played non-chaotic evil characters and the people at the table know you, they trust you, and that you're going to play that character right. If you show up to a game and say, well, here's my murder hobo, got no background story, entire family was murdered, now basically just, kills anybody that crosses them, and if they've got a chaotic evil or neutral evil or whatever, then everybody at that table is rightfully, justifiably going to go, I don't want to play a game with that character. Why would my character be associated with that character? You're essentially the person that my character kills for a living. So why would we hang out together at all? Why? So, and then the DM is quite within their rights to say, yeah, there's no way that your character would know these guys. Like, why would your character hang out with a paladin of Torm and a war priest, a war mage of Cormier, when you're a murderous rogue? Why would they hang out with you? Why would they even know you? These are the people that would arrest you and probably try you for your crimes. Doesn't make any sense. And then that player would be like, this game sucks. Well, don't be a baby. It's a cooperative game. It's not a PvP game. If it is if you're going to play a PvP game, then that's a specific type of playstyle that everybody needs to agree to. Pretty simple, really. Poets of Anarchy, right? Yeah, the Helmet of Alignment change. I don't think there's anything like that in 5th edition, is there? Deep Spawn is a good major villain. Oh yeah, that would work, Sonoff. Unwavering loyalty to Duplex, the Uber Slime. Came up with a 3.5 build using the Disciple of Despater Prestige class, Keen Feet, and a Falchion where you have a critical threat on rolls of 2 to 20. What? 2 to 20? That's crazy. Yes, November Mind. I do think there is a way to do that. The spell weavers are actually trying to do that. Could I talk more on the Mind Flayer variants, such as experiments they create through seromorphosis? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I am going to do a video on Thune, so I'll probably talk about that stuff as well, Zachary. So yeah, I guess there is a lot more stuff to talk about with Mind Flayers. You got me there. I've even mentioned that I was going to make a video on Thune before. Thune is really cool because there's no description of what Thune is in D&D. Also, for those of you who are my Patreon subscribers, you remember how I promised that I was going to tell you what I was whispering in the background of that other video? I actually lost the script for what I was whispering, but I know what I was talking about. I just don't have the exact words. I printed it out and I didn't save the file and I lost the piece of paper. Ha 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 ha. Funny. But yeah, I know exactly what I was talking about. So I'll be able to repeat it for you. I'll make a specific video just for you. That will never be released to the public. Oh, nice. I like Kenku as well. I think Kenku are also really good player characters. You can have a lawful evil character that essentially is working with the group. Yep. It's possible to have evil in your campaign as a player character and work perfectly fine. Because lawful evil characters work within a code of laws. They have rules and regulations that they do things by, and they strictly stick with them. Wild mage with extreme gambling randomness issue. Yeah. Well, like, chaotic evil characters essentially, so they follow their whims, they do whatever they please. Essentially, they are characters that have no regard for the liberty of other people, and their emotions are everything. Like the sole reason why they do anything is their own personal emotions. So essentially, they're kind of neurotic. Yeah. The funny thing is, you probably know a chaotic evil person. You probably know one. They're the people in your life that you go, I don't want to deal with that person. I don't like, how did they get this way? So they're narcissistic, they're vindictive, they're vicious, they're cruel, somewhat sadistic. Yeah. But it doesn't mean they can't be nice, but they'll be nice because for a reason, like for themselves personally, for selfish reasons. So they'll give something to you, but then they'll expect something in return, you know, sort of thing. A demonic version of an Azimar. Tyrannical and oppressors. Yeah, they can be. Like, that's the stereotype, right? So that's the extreme of lawful evil, is the tyrannical oppressor. So the more power they get, the more tyrannical they become. But essentially, if you're just a workaday slob, you're kind of mean-spirited, like you've had a hard upbringing. Like, say, you know, your parents beat you, beat sense into you, you know. So from your perspective, life is hard. And people only learn lessons from, you know, harsh consequences. So in one respect, you're kind of waiting for people to trip up and break the rules, and that gives you an excuse to hurt them. So you're kind of a bully, but you follow a set of rules. So if they do things right, if they do things the right way as determined by you, and or even the land that you work in, or the social mores, so you'll always veer towards the more sort of harsh consequences of the law and things like that. Or you'll be kind of critical of authorities that don't punish people appropriately. So you're all in favour of capital punishment, you know, the right to defend your property with lethal force, all that sort of stuff. So lawful. So you follow the harsh aspect of the law. And that also refers to your personal relationship with other people. You break up with girlfriends because they break your personal code of rules, and they don't necessarily know what those code of rules are. But you've got rules for everything, and the consequences of breaking those rules are pretty harsh. But also, you stick with those rules yourself. So if you know what the rules of that lawful evil person are, and you stick by them, you got no problem with that person at all. They can have a close personal friendship with somebody, so they can have friends. Evil people can have friends. And lawful evil people will have allies and associates and things like that who they trust because they follow the rules. So that works. Like even Asmodeus has got major domos and things like that who he trusts to do things because they follow the rules. They know what his rules are. That's the rules of the 9 hells. Like, it's possible to live in the 9 hells. And, I mean, it's not a pleasant place for the most part, but there are, like, places where you can go in the 9 hells that are quite clement. Oh, man, Michael, I would kill for some mead right now. It's so hard to get good mead, unless you make it yourself. What would happen if Mershulk awoken? Same sort of, well, okay, like there's a couple of gods that you don't want to, or primordials that you don't want to wake up. One of them is Dendar, underneath Chult. You don't want Dendar to wake up. You would see a Sheldon Cooper is lawful evil. Yeah, Sheldon is lawful evil. Sheldon Cooper is lawful evil for sure. The So if Dendar woke up, or if Murshulk woke up, you would probably see a mobilization of the gods, or the gods' major, like, high-level characters, epic-level characters would be involved. So that would be an interesting campaign setting if there's a resurgence of conflict between primordials and things like that. In the Eberron campaign setting, that's definitely a possibility, because demon lords have been locked up in living prisons created from Quartals. So the Quartals have sacrificed themselves to contain demons, because demons ruled the world of Eberron for a long time. It was almost a layer of the abyss. So that definitely can happen. Yeah, yes, Dendar. Dendar, the serpent that swallowed the sun. Yep. Yeah. So it just goes to show that, like, if Sheldon Cooper can have friends and you know, live and stuff, then absolutely. I'd say he probably is on the autistic spectrum. Shout out to all my good friends who are on the autistic spectrum. You are wonderful. Some of the greatest minds this world has ever produced were autistic. Tesla, Elon Musk. The what's her name? The matron from the Chase game show. To all those people who say, I'm not going to get vaccinated because my children could get autism. It's like, on behalf of all the autistic people in the world, screw you. You'd rather get polio than autism. Yes, Zonoff, that's perfectly fine. Talking about mental conditions or mental illness is fine. Dendar, are you saying Dendar's awake and she can't leave the fugue plane? Really? Interesting. Yugoloths definitely do accept cash. Yep. Your friends think you personally are lawful evil. It's funny, actually. If you ask people who you DM on a regular basis, they'll probably say, yeah, you're lawful evil. You think I should read Lord of the Dawn? Who has time for reading anything other than D&D books? You've seen how many videos that I put out. I barely have time to play video games. I've been playing Torchlight 2 lately. Yeah, well, Redwater, that like that aspect of lawful behaviour, that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration when they're talking about alignment and stuff. Some people need rules, some people need laws and things like that, otherwise they get very unsure about things. Case in point would be when you have a fundamental religious person who is raised in that sort of community, and they don't know really how to deal with somebody who doesn't have that formalized, written down moral framework. So for them, it's either follow these rules in this book, or this doctrine, or this sheet, or this mantra, or whatever, or I can't trust you. I don't know how you're going to react to anything. How do I know that? Like, if there's no consequences for what you for breaking these rules, then you can do anything you want. So they really genuinely can't imagine somebody not having a guideline for their behavior. They don't seem to realize that people do good things because they understand that doing good is better. Like, from a social perspective, from a personal survival perspective, people are like, life around you encourages human beings to work together. It's when people work against other people, or they're antisocial or aggressive towards other people. That's generally a breakdown in their mental state. Their upbringing and things like that has caused them to be that way. People aren't naturally like that. The human experience, our evolution has shown us over and over again that those who stick with other people and look after other people and support other people survive better than those who don't, because the conditions on Earth quickly kill people who go off on their lonesome. It's always been that way. It's just the way it is. So we never really needed to formalize that in the form of we have laws and things like that to reinforce that. But really, the reason why the place that those laws came from is the same evolutionary drive that causes people to be nice to each other anyway. So even without written down formalized laws in communes and things like that, or families, people work towards each other just out of love, out of companionship. Same thing in D&D. Lawful people have that need for codification of laws and things like that, but they are inherently following a set of rules and regulations and things like that they live by, and they can't imagine not helping people in need, or they can't imagine not understanding what the property laws or something, or boundaries of something is. So yeah, I'm not expressing that very well. The Mind Flayers of Thune are my main antagonists for my campaign, where Thune is the philosophy of the greater good and the preservation of the Mind Flayer race over everything else. Ah, interesting. Okay, so that's your interpretation of it. The Thune sect of the Mind Flayers is basically the Illithid Black Ops, and they are in charge of using every method at their disposal to ensure that the closed loop is the Mind Flayer race. Yep. Maintain no matter how horrible or taboo it would normally be, including arcane magic, horrific mutations and experiments, time travel, cloning, etc. For sure. Yeah, so you can definitely run Thune like that. You can also run Thune as a very powerful cybertronic entity from the Far Realm. That's actually a combination of technology and psychic force, and it's a parasite, and it has brainwashed the Mind Flayers of Thune and used them just like an organic tool. Much like, what's that? There's a sci-fi movie where they took brains out of living people and put them into machines. That one. You'd like to see Atropos wake up. Well, that's perfectly valid, November Mind. You had a paladin in your party leave the game because they couldn't forgive the party for being manipulated by a Cambion and a succubus. That's understandable. Like, that's a person playing true to their character. Did they roll up a new character, or did the person actually leave the game? Because I would just allow them to retire that character and roll up a new character and insert them into the game, for sure. But I mean, that's also something probably you should discuss with your players at the game, that occasionally it's perfectly alright to retire your character from the game, so they leave the life of adventuring, or they go off to follow their own pursuit, or say you've rescued a village from some rampaging monster, and the rest of the party want to go off and go on further adventures, and the cleric or monk or something like that says, no, I'm going to stay behind in this community and be its protector and look after it. That's where you get these 5th level, 6th level characters, NPCs in games, who settle down in a particular area to protect it, and create this pocket of light. I've had, in our last campaign, we had I think it was a couple of characters. There was at least one character that legitimately found a reason to retire the character from the game, because they had a very good reason for not being with the player character party anymore. They didn't die, they just went off and did their own thing. They fulfilled their background sort of their character. And it was fine. And then a new character comes into play, and everybody carries on. Love is punishment, my favourite lawful fundy quote. My favourite quote is, if you love something, you can't control it. Like, control and love are not the same thing. They're mutually exclusive. I think there was Terry, what's his last name? Terry something. Tau Mind Flayers, yeah. If Have I read I, Tyrant? No, I haven't. Pickett lay eggs. Do they? No, it wasn't the Cybermen from Doctor Who, although that's equally valid. No, it was a movie that was on. It was a sci-fi movie that's relatively recent. There's been a sequel made of it, where these things have this blue light that shines out of them, and people get like, and all their veins pop out, and they get sort of brainwashed, and then their brain gets extracted and used as essentially a living computer control system inside these robots. Axe poison! Hey Trey, bit late to the party. In fact, I think that's time to wrap up our stream. Yep, we're over an hour. Thanks for the thanks for the super chat, Bryce. I'll catch everybody later. I've got boxes to pack, a script to write, coffee to drink, and it's actually a beautiful spring day. It's a Blossom Festival at Waikato University here in Hamilton tomorrow. So I'm thinking about going along and sitting underneath the floating blossoms because it's springtime here in New Zealand. Spellweaver video on the minor universe for the near. Was that a scrapped video? A what? I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Yeah, you could play an Azir. Azirs are kind of interesting though because they're kind of limited in their outlook. Yeah, I mean they're elemental, right? In a way, they're kind of like clones, like the Sontarans from Doctor Who. Dragonspawn, yep, for sure. Friends, people help people move. Good friends help people move books. Boy, I've got so many boxes of books. Actually, no, I'm going to be doing most of the lifting and moving myself. But that's good. I am big and strong. I am mighty. I can handle it. I can lift anything. Okay, catch you later, everybody. Happy gaming.